All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Mainly Hoops podcast, where we're still covering the transfer portal in the Big Ten. We've got UCLA today. UCLA made some moves. I think we can all agree who their best move or their best get was this offseason. But we'll start with Cody. Cody, tell us a little bit about the transfers as a whole and maybe who stands out to you besides Donovan Dent, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can all agree that Donovan Dent was definitely the best transfer that UCLA got. And he's probably, for my money, probably the best transfer that went anywhere. Yeah, I think he was the best player in the portal in the entire country. Obviously, there's a few guys out there like a Darian Williams comes to my head that could be the number one guy. But for my money, I think it's Donovan Dent for sure. I mean, I think he's just one of the most electrifying guards in the entire country. We can talk about him a little bit later in depth, but I mean, obviously they brought in a few other guys like Jamar Brown from UMKC, who I think profiles pretty well off the ball as like an off guard who can be, I think he could be a solid connector piece for this offense that's going to run through Donovan Dent and Tyler Bilodeau mainly in the pick and roll game. And then to have Brown as that complementary piece is going to be pretty important. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a role shift for him. I mean, he played a lot on the ball at UMKC, but for what I've seen in the film, I think his catch and shoot ability, I think, is going to be there. It's not, I mean, it's a quick-ish release. It's not like a crazy quick release, and he's solid off screens and as a movement shooter overall. So I do think he fits in pretty well there, and I think he fits the mold as a defender on this roster as well. His physicality makes him a solid two-way fit for a Mick Cronin defense. So yeah, definitely like what I saw from Jamar Brown. I think he's kind of a value get here.
Marcus, what are your thoughts about these transfers as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'll speak about Dent for a second. I mean, one of the best guards, like handling the pick and roll, high assist rate, almost 36% assist rate last year. So great passer. So I expect him to, like, UCLA kind of was missing that, right? I memean, like, they just pieced it together with like Dylan Andrews and Sky Clark and, a few others. It just, they didn't really have a guy that could really get them into offense. So I think Dent's really going to help them there. Obviously, I mean, he's going to be one of the best players in the Big Ten. As for Jamar Brown, like Cody said, I think catch and shoot, he's going to be just fine, right? He was right around 41% last year on 160 3-point attempts. He's also a pretty good rebounder for a guard. I mean, his offensive defensive rebound rate, both over 10%, 10% a rebound, 15% defensive rebound. So that definitely stood out. He's my main concern with him, I think, is just his off the dribble play, particularly in the Big Ten. Like some of his clips, he's a little bit rigid off the dribble. Didn't look super comfortable getting to like that mid-range pull-up. Didn't really seem to be super comfortable in like making decisions other than getting himself a shot. Fortunate for him here, he's not going to be asked to do a ton of that because that's going to be more Donovan Dent. But I do expect teams probably as the season goes along, especially if he's shooting the three at a high clip, to run him off the line, make him put it on the deck, and make him be a decision maker. And he only had an 8% assist rate last year, so I could see that being a bit of a problem. He did seem a little bit stiff off the dribble at times. Another get, Xavier Booker, we haven't really touched on yet, coming from Michigan State. Kind of up and down, a shooter, a non-shooter that thinks he's a shooter. He shoots the three quite a bit, for being a 23% 3-point shooter. Not a fantastic rebounder either, like doesn't really get on the O boards, 13% defensive rebound rate. But where I do think he will help this team tremendously, like he's 6'11", he's long, athletic. I think he can help in the rim protection department. Like Tyler Bilodeau, not a rim protector whatsoever. Obviously they lost to Daimara, so getting someone that can kind of disrupt shots at the rim, I think will be very important for this team. He had a 6% block rate last year. So I think he'll definitely help on the defensive end. But like I said, the offensive end, like not really going to be. If he wants to continue to be a shooter, like it's going to be hard for Mick Cronin to put him out there unless he improved in the offseason. Like he was 12th percentile in effective field goal percentage on catch and shoot. But he likes to shoot it, which to me is kind of a problem. So we'll see if Mick Cronin can get that out of him.
Let's talk about Dent here for a second. So, obviously switching from New Mexico, what do we expect from him with this new squad? How does he fit in with the system? Let's hear from Cody.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy I've watched basically his entire career so far at New Mexico. I always, from the second he got on campus at New Mexico, I thought he was the best guard there. I mean, he played with guys like Jalen House and Jamal Mashburn and others, and I always kind of thought he was the most talented guard. I thought he was the most well-rounded guard out of that entire group. It was a really good group as well, but I'm very high on the talent. The fit is a little bit weird for a Mick Cronin offense that is a little bit more methodical, and they don't really love to get out in transition all that much. Cronin's obviously a defensive-minded guy, so he kind of wants to limit possessions and value getting back in transition and slowing the game up from there. And, I mean, the fastest adjusted tempo that a Mick Cronin offense has had is 230th in the nation in adjusted efficiency at UCLA. Had a few teams at Cincinnati that like to get up and down the floor a little bit, but for the most part, they're usually in the 300s tempo-wise. And a guy like Donovan Dent is a guy that thrives in transition. His efficiency dips a tad in the half court just because his perimeter game it's coming along, but it's still not really there. He's still not really that comfortable. He was in the 34% effective field goal percentage off the bounce. That was in the 13th percentile, which is an obvious issue in this offense that's going to project to play more in the half court. But he did go 26 of 65 from three last season, which he's made a jump in the shooting department every single year. Maybe if he takes a few more attempts there, he'll be fine. And he obviously is a great passer, like Marcus said. I think for my money, I think he's the best guard rim scorer in the entire country. Just his combination of burst and creativity around the rim is just elite level stuff. I mean, it's NBA level stuff, to be honest with you. I think he is pretty much NBA ready at this point, outside of, the perimeter jumper just not quite being there. But one thing that I am interested to see is how either Cronin adjusts or how Donovan Dent adjusts to this new style of offense.
Marcus, let's hear your thoughts about Dent's move.
Yeah, I mean, Cody brings up good points, right? Like he thrives more in transition. I do think like he does have just such a strong basketball IQ. I think his ability to kind of play in pick and roll, like maybe his efficiency scoring wise dips playing slower, but I think like he can still kind of pick apart a defense, especially another year experience, at the college level. He can pick apart a defense and kind of probe and get in the lane, make big plays, get guys open shots. Obviously, like Cody said, he's not super comfortable shooting the three, like only 65 attempts over the course of a full season for a guy that has the ball in his hands. I don't know exactly what his usage rate was, but I'm sure it was 30 plus % at New Mexico last year. So for a guy that has the ball that much, only 65 3-point attempts, he's obviously not super comfortable, but like you said, his efficiency has gone up. Like he was about 40% last year. So overall, like I don't think like it is a different fit for him, but like he's too good, I think, and you couldn't really go wrong with looking at like whether it really was a fit. Like he's too good of a player.
Mm-hmm. Overall, do we think the Bruins got better over this offseason or worse? Cody, we'll start with you.
I think you kind of have to say they got better just because Dent is going to raise the floor and ceiling for this entire team. I mean, the guard play was an issue last season, although like some guys returning, like Sky Clark was a surprise with how well he played. He shot it a lot better than I thought. He was a better decision maker than I thought he was going to be. And then some other guys walked out the door, like Dylan Andrews, who just wasn't efficient really at all. Sebastian Mack, I think it was kind of time for him to find a new spot. He's at Missouri now, who I think he fits in there really well. But just bringing in Donovan Dent, I think it's just tough. The fit is really, it's concerning for me right now, but I think over time, I think Donovan Dent's style of play will kind of change how Cronin is approaching his offensive philosophy this coming season. So, and then the fact that you returned guys like Tyler Bilodeau, who averaged 13.5 a game, Eric Daly, who I think is extremely underrated, averaged 11.5 points per game on fairly efficient shooting. And then I like to get with Jamar Brown because I don't think he's going to have to play as much of an on-ball role, solid shooter. So, and the offense has always kind of been the concern for Mick Cronin throughout his coaching career. The defense is always elite with the scheme, with the rim denial scheme. So, yeah, I think they got better. I'm not sure if there's like championship upside, but I definitely think they're a top 5 team in the Big Ten.
Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think they got better just because they replaced, like Cody said, Mack and Andrews with Donovan Dent, and that's a major upgrade. Andrews, I feel like every game I'd watch, he was like 1 for 7, 1 for 8. And then he'd mix in some game where he'd have like 13 or something. But Sebastian Mack was kind of just a ball stopper. It felt like he didn't really move it. It was a lot of like ISO stuff. So I think they definitely got better. The ball's going to move better. Guys are going to get better shots. I think Bilodeau is going to greatly improve from this. And overall, like I think Kobe Johnson's a guy that like losing him is impactful. But like Eric Daly, I think, like Cody said, underrated, only played about half a game last year. He's going to step into a much bigger role. And I really like his game. Like he was only playing 23 minutes a game last year. I think he's going to step into a nice spot here, be a nice complementary piece off the ball. Shot it well last year. So I think they definitely got better.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up the Bruins?
I just think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with Dent in this offense. I mean, as Marcus was speaking, I think Bilodeau is going to be really important for the spacing element with Donovan Dent, especially in the pick and roll game and the pick and pop game. It's going to open up driving lanes for Dent more, and it's going to open up some looks for Bilodeau at the top of the key. So over time, I think the offense is going to be okay. Early in the season, it's something to monitor at this point in time, but I think this has potential to be UCLA's best regular season in the Cronin era. I know they had a really good year a few years back when they were a 2 seed, but I do think there's upside for them to get there.
Marcus, final thoughts?
I think, like I said, I think they got better at, but the only thing that still looms large is like the travel issue in the Big Ten. Like, can these guys overcome that? We'll see. I mean, I think that for all these West Coast teams, that's really the biggest challenge when it comes time for conference play. Do I think this is a top 5 Big Ten team, like Cody said? Absolutely, right? Like when it comes time for Big Ten tournament, yes. But with all the travel, regular season in the Big Ten, you just never know, right? I mean, they're college kids at the end of the day. So, like, you're traveling to a game at Rutgers on a Tuesday night. Like, that's brutal.
Yeah, Cronin was pretty vocal about all that travel stuff too. So yeah, it is going to be really hard for a West Coast team to win like the regular season title, but I don't really think it changes how good this team truly is. I mean, maybe they lose a little bit of confidence if they go on a 4-game losing streak on their East Coast trip, but over time, I think these West Coast teams will be fine.
Yeah, that's a good point. But a lot to look forward to if you're a Bruins fan. But we'll wrap it up here. All right, as always, thank you for listening to the Mainly Hoops podcast.